With F123 being announced, it's time to review and reflect on the soon-to-be outdated F122. What features I loved, and what features I don't.
And it's lights out and away we go!
F122 was released on the 28th of June in 2022. Highly anticipated for F1 enthusiasts, as it was the herald for the new cars which graced the glorious grid for the season. From the launch of the game, instantly the cars felt different from the previous game of F1 2021. While the cars didn't feel as fast, they certainly held a lot better in the corners, which meant for those who would be competing on a digital season, the dynamics of the game had changed. Sadly, this new feel to the vehicles was patched out, and the cars felt not dissimilar from the previous game, and I cannot express my disappointment enough in relation to this update. What the game did bring in was a VR feature, and thankfully it wasn't based on realism, because if it was, a lot of VR players would have gotten sick fast with the porpoising issues, which were noticed at the start of the F122 season in the real world. My brother in our online season managed to do many races in VR, and destroyed most of us. Yes, the man is a beast behind the wheel. I remember a time when I was untouchable in racing games growing up. And now, well.
When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
In the opening menus, we have a change in theme, where it's no longer the standard F1 theme, but have an EA approved playlist, giving a lot more of a modern, funky vibe to the menu. F122 also saw the feature added called F1 Life, which allowed the player to customize their living space, menu space, modify your driver's clothes when not racing, and allow friends and AI generated players into the space, which will allow you to show off where you live and literally throw a supercar in every room within the place. This is seriously one of the dumbest features in a Formula 1 game I have ever seen. Seriously, you buy a Formula 1 game to drive a Formula 1 car, not to have a wanky show of supercars and look where my digital character lives. Nor should anyone care what clothes you're wearing when you're not in a race. It just gave me tacky Forza Horizon Need for Speed Heat vibes. An added feature that was absolutely pointless. The game then allows people in your friends list to come into your space and leave a like emoticon for the space you've created. Whoever at EA and Codemasters thought this would be a great addition to the game and would be a very cool flex seriously needs to reassess their life choices. And if not that person, then the person that approved this idea into the game.
See, nobody cares. Nice hat.
The standard customization of race outfits and car liveries still applied to the F122 game, allowing you to create your own team livery and logo, which is always welcome, especially when racing online. For solo modes, the game has a standard time trial, Grand Prix, and it also brought in the supercar laps. Again, some players may love it, but personally, I'm not a fan. I mean, again, it is a Formula 1 game. It's literally in the name. Not let's drive some supercars around a track. But at least with this, I can understand why this was put in, as this is a feature which actual F1 drivers do on races from time to time. Still, this doesn't
impress me.
Now, in Grand Prix mode, there have been a few new features added to the game which personally I am a massive fan of. The first being after the formation lap, just before the race kicks in. There's a bit of a mini sequence where it allows you to line up into the grid. Red being a woeful lineup, green being okay, and purple is optimal for race start. This was a nice little touch, to kind of line you up like an actual F1 driver to get any advantage you can prior to race start. Within reason, of course.
Slightly over with the left portion of his car, there you go.
The other in-race feature which was added takes place when entering the pits mid-race. The same little screen pops up, giving you the ability to turn into the team pit entrance for tyre and wing changes mid-race. With the same colour coding as mentioned before, this gives you the ability to optimise your pit time, making it quicker for the pit crew to perform the required action to the car and get you back into the fray of the race. F122 got rid of the Breakpoint story-based campaign, which personally I was really disappointed to hear this, because this was one of my favourite aspects of F1 2021. It not only gave you the full press engagement race to race, but also gave you some of the behind the scenes action as well, dealing with team principals and your teammate. I honestly couldn't get enough of this story-based F1 mode, and was actually upset when I'd finished it. The story let you play as a rookie driver coming into the racing team, racing with one of your idols as a teammate, Tensions grow, and then, mid-game, you switch to the more seasoned driver to understand the pressures he's dealing with, and ultimately comes to an amazing crossroad, seeing the rookie and the seasoned driver come together, working as a team to get the results. It almost feels like you're playing through a season of Netflix's Drive to Survive. This would have been amazing to have a follow-up to this in the 2022 game. Sadly, this wasn't the case. Having said that, it's rumoured to be returning in F1 2023, and if it is...
Just leave me alone, I know what to do.
Now, in a multiplayer season, playing online with friends and family, this works great. F122 also brought in the addition of crossplay, meaning that other platforms such as PlayStation and Xbox could play with those on PC. It also meant that PC players could crosstalk with other game platforms. For instance, Steam versus EA Game Client, which early on in our season saw us separated for a little while with one of our racing companions. Now, online racing was fun, but what it didn't offer was the ability for us to reset certain settings and retain a point score, which we had to do manually, and I think it would be a magnificent addition to the game if we could maintain a leaderboard for a season without us having to manually keep score, like a returning interface allowing us to lock in players for a season, maintaining points for each actual race performed, and if you couldn't make it to the race, you were given the lowest possible points. If there are enough players for you to be in the point zone, if you had over 10 players, well, you wouldn't be in the points at all.
Gene, we finished 4th and 5th here. You fucking look like rock stars, huh?
F122 also sees returns of multiplayer career mode, which allows you and a friend to have a multiplayer career. Starting on the same team in the season and then negotiating contracts to a different team throughout the game. This also allows you to have more than one multiplayer career in play at once. So you could be racing with a friend for Red Bull, and then you could be racing for another friend in McLaren.
Let's get them.
What I think would be a welcome feature to add in, that if in a multiplayer race, when someone had crashed out, rather than having them sitting on the sidelines watching, why not let them drive the safety car if this is required to be deployed during the race? It keeps the player engaged and gives them a role to perform if required.
It is Hamilton, Lewis Hamilton, on lap 3 has gone off.
Here comes another one.
Alternatively, why not add in an FIA mode, where players who are out or aren't willing to drive but still want to be part of the experience and the camaraderie that comes with online gaming, a role of an FIA spectator, so that in the event of a racing incident, they can make the call, and players can take a vote to either reverse or agree with the call made in relation to the incident.
No, Mikey, no, Mikey, that was so not right.
Another feature I think would be a nice addition would be a launch minigame, much like the pit and warm-up lap, where the game has more visual cues on how to launch the car. To me, this would have benefits of helping new and returning players to the game to get a better understanding of how to launch a car properly, especially when turning all the assists off, because, well, as we can see, I can't launch to save myself. These are just some of my thoughts with F122, and what I would like to see as an addition in F1 2023. Will you be buying F123? And if so, what are you hoping to see changed in the game? Thanks for watching, friends, and hopefully I'll see you out there on the grid.